Hello and welcome everyone to
Hello.
another LinkedIn Live, this time hosted by XR for Europe and Inmersiva XR. So I'm here with Vicky Vassan and I'm
Hi.
Michael Barngrover. So the topic of today is XR industry research in Europe. And we'll be talking about the insights and impacts of recent research, and that is leading into new research that we plan to announce today. So we will be taking questions at the end of our kind of brief presentation about our research plans. But before getting into that, I'd like to maybe just allow us both to briefly introduce our respective associations. So Vicky, I'll let you go first and introducing InReceive XR, which I don't know, you don't need necessarily the presentation yet. So you'll present the research in just a bit, but if you just want to
Okay.
introduce InReceiva. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Vic Bazan. I'm co-founder of Immersiva XR, which is the Spanish extended reality cluster. So, and we're having an ecosystem for companies and entities from Spain and collabing with other entities worldwide.
Excellent. And you mentioned you highlighted, emphasized cluster. So could you talk a little bit? I think that maybe is that a new development? Could you talk a little bit about the cluster, what that means?
Yeah, I mean, we are founded in 2020 as a non-profit association, but this year we turned into a cluster. We want because we want to focus more on the industry part. So we are like a group of companies and professionals, and not yet individuals. We also have a big community, but we are now focused only on the industry part.
Okay, great. And to briefly introduce XRF Europe, we are a nonprofit international association based in Brussels. So we represent other associations, hubs, and clusters around Europe. Inmersive XR is one of the founding members of XR for Europe, but that also includes representatives of Finland, of Germany, of Switzerland, and many others. Now, as our membership also includes several other countries, but not just associations, clusters, and hubs, also universities and research institutions, companies, small and medium size, and also individuals who are either individual practitioners, freelancers, or just independent researchers and enthusiasts and such. So we represent the pan-European type of perspective, and Inmersiva is that national perspective that is kind of essential to understanding what Europe is. You can't really understand Europe if you don't have expert understanding of it at the national level. So that's why this today is presenting this joint research effort because Inmersive XR and Vicky, you'll talk about it later, probably has already been conducting their own research at the national level for some years. And not every nation in Europe has such an association with the, I guess, the reach and the resources to do that. So it is something of a luxury, but it is also a great example for others. And it was a strong example for us when we decided to also engage in an industry research project in 2024. We looked to Inmersiva XR. We also worked with Immersive, and we worked with Luis Bravo Martin of the Portuguese XR report, and and not just them, also some other reports that had already come out before. We looked to that to try to establish what might be a best practice. And so I'll briefly want to just present the insights from our most recent report because we presented it at Stereopsia collectively, all of us on the same stage. But the report itself only came out in January. So just to kind of frame what this research effort looks like, I'll quickly highlight some of the insights from our last one. So one of the things that we really were looking at are the growth expectations for the XR and the virtual world space in Europe. And the overwhelming result conclusion was that people are optimistic. People are expecting revenue growth in this year, 2025. And that was kind of regardless of how many sectors they served, where they got their clients, whether that was domestic or international. and the size of the company. So that general optimism was a clear output from our research. The other thing that we looked at is the role of European solution providers and product owners and creators. What is their role in the European in the global landscape? And this is actually something specific that we were very inspired from a research we did in Bulgaria, as well as information that Inmersiva also and insights provided to us when we were setting this up. Many European companies are serving clients all over the world. In fact, that's a more common than it is it's more common that they do that than they don't do that. And so looking at these indications here, the US and Canada are major recipients of European service in XR and in creation in XR. But if we look at Europe, and I know it's a little bit small here, Germany, the color indicates how many companies are sourcing clients from that country, but that are not in that country. So Germany is quite dark because many European companies that responded to our survey, which included some responses from Spain, from Inmersiva's research, but also from Portugal and Ireland. Germany was importing from other European countries a lot of service, as well as France, as well as the UK. These were big markets that were importing from other regions in Europe. So that was a very clear insight that is very interconnected, which is not a surprise, but it was something that we wanted to put into something measurable, quantifiable. Something else we were looking at that came out of this is that there are some things that look like they could be bottlenecks for the companies in Europe who are providing XR and virtual world creation services and products. And one of that was the number of sectors. So many companies are serving so many sectors or are open to serve so many sectors. And that means potentially that they're not really focused on a particular use case and a particular product, that they're kind of opportunistically adapting to projects and opportunities and are likely pursuing a project mentality rather than a product development mentality. So that came out of this research, as well as access to public funding. Seems as though the size of the team plays a significant role in the ability to access public funding. And maybe that's because of the reporting or the grant writing, just having the human resources for that. So these came out of that research, but there were some limitations. And that's why we're really keen this year to grow this collaboration within Inmersiva XR, but also with others, is because we didn't have the best representation across Europe. Poland was absent. The Baltic countries, the Nordic countries as well were quite absent. And we know that there are many important companies and stakeholders there, particularly Finland being such a well-known center for this in Europe, but also in the Balkans. We know that, again, from other research, Slovenia is quite active, Croatia is quite active, Bulgaria is quite active relative to their scale, but they weren't captured. And we tried to capture them, but we didn't really succeed. So in that first report, we recognize the limitations of it. And it's one of the reasons why it's important that we start looking ahead to 2025 and the next cycle of research. But because we're talking about a national and a pan-European research effort, now I'd like to turn it back over to Vicky to introduce your research plans for this year.
Okay, I'm gonna present the cluster like a little bit more. Like I said, we are an ecosystem, and we focus now on connecting companies, professional, but also institution and training and technology centers around XR, and all these value chains apply, as you said, to any sector. Right now, we have like more than 45 members, combining companies and also professional. But we are doing partnership with more than 50 entities worldwide, and we have a really big community from followers on social media. And as I said, we were doing this like for 5 years. We were founded 5 years ago, and now we're more focused on this industry, and also for having some recognition in Spain as a strategic sector. And we do like research, promotion, and all educational activities too. But even though we're a national cluster and we're focused on Spain, we also do activities internationally. And we also were very well connected in Europe, like we are founding member of Except for Europe, but we also represent Immersive Women in Immersive Tech in Spain, and we also part of BRAR Industry Coalition and Metaverse Stand-Up Forums, and we're also doing some alliance with Latin America, and we want like to be like a reference for Spanish-speaking companies and the community. Our members, which are Spanish XR companies, we have like 36 companies right now who develop XR on any kind of technologies around it. And we have partners of any kind. And what we do, we're like three main goals. Like first, it's creating connections. We do like a lot of networking events and networking after we do like consultancy on the companies. And also we want to give visibility, not only just the technologies, but also the projects from Spain, through creating content, participating in event, or even organizing events at national level. And we want to strengthen our industry through research, like we're talking about today, and like establish collaboration. No? I like to make it even bigger and every year. As you said, we already did 2 reports on 2023 and 2024. Last year, we also translated into English to give more internationalization to the report. Actually, it's still available for download, the last report. And we also do like a catalog from a Hispanic Talk project of our members, which is very interesting, and it's also available for download. And we want to repeat it this year, but this year we have this new perspective. We want to collaborate it with Except for Europe and synchronize the timeline and the publication, so we can make our report bigger and have more repercussion in Europe. So I'm gonna let you to explain how we're gonna do this collaboration and the timeline, and we are available for contact if you need anything.
All right, excellent. And let me go ahead and bring up exactly that, what this second European XR industry report is going to look like. It's going to look pretty similar, because that's the idea, is to provide year-to-year comparison, which is what already Immersive XR's reports have been doing. So we aim to continue that both for them, but then as well for the European level report. But to make it as Vicky mentioned, it was about trying to find commonalities in the research, which is why we were coordinating last year. We want to build on that. So we're developing a common battery of questions that can be shared with other potential partners. So right now we're working on that battery of questions to harmonize them so that they can be compared over time and compared over domains. And for example, I remember there were the same question, but for some participating partners who worked with us, there were different answer ranges for the numbers of employees or revenue ranges, and it's that inconsistency just meant that we lost a little bit of precision as we aggregated. So we're really looking to try to streamline that. But in this second report, we're going to look at a couple more things at the European level, and then I will talk about the timeline, because we're going to get started very soon with that. So this image here is just an indication again of Europe's role globally in virtual worlds, just how many connections, outbound connections, European companies and creators are contributing to virtual worlds in other parts of the world, and trying to recognize how to grow that. So just we're going to add new topics, new questions in order to be able to capture insights from other types of organizations, because the first year's report was very SME focused, but we received a lot of input, a lot of responses from universities and foundations and associations that we didn't really have great questions for them, because we weren't focusing on them first. But knowing that they are very responsive, now we have some more questions. And again, highlighting that we didn't have great reach in some parts of Europe that we know are very important and very impactful. We are going to invest more time in localizing those surveys and research through translation. So in Spain, of course, working with Inmersiva, we don't have this issue. But for some other nations and other regions, we don't necessarily have that type of cluster or association to work with yet. And so we will be needing to do more of that localization ourselves, but we are actively looking for partners. We, of course, have a partner. One of our members is the Technology Park of Ljubljana in Slovenia. We also have some, of course, Helsinki XR Center is one of our founding members as well. So in those places, we have good support. But in Poland, we'll be working with XR Polska, which is a new community association. And in Bulgaria, we're looking for partners there, and potentially Romania as well. But just to highlight some of the new topics that we didn't look at the European level, but I know Inmersiva looked at the Spanish level, are things like skill and talent shortages, just better understanding the human resource situation there, particularly maybe with in terms of diversity and representation, and even where that representation and diversity is within the production cycle, production roles. So frequency of engagement with national support. This is something that the projects, the Horizon projects that we're in, such as Openverse, these are valuable insights for projects like that are really trying to understand how impactful certain national initiatives are, and trying to, again, be able to map that and understand what the European Commission may be able to do to further empower and augment those types of supports. And then the Virtual World Partnership, which is fast approaching. It's launched later this year. So helping to establish what is the awareness among these different stakeholders for the partnership, what it represents for them, and related to that, these funding programs, these headline programs, Horizon, Creative, and Digital Europe. So these are all things that we're planning to add. And we are finalizing, as I said, that common battery of questions that we'll be keen to make available to other institutions who may be looking to do similar research and are open to collaborating with us to create comparisons. So, for example, for us at the European level, we're very much looking at looking at the comparisons across countries. But even at the national level, Vicky, I know it was always important for Inmersiva to be able to compare the Spanish market with specific other counterparts. So I don't know if you want to add a little bit about that.
We want to do the comparison, especially with Europe in general, so we can do how repercussion we have in Spain through in comparison with other companies in Europe, I think.
Yeah. So now we get to the timeline, the all important, when are we getting started on this? We're getting started very soon. So we're going to align our research efforts. So again, Inmersiva will be focusing on the Spanish language and the Spanish market. But in order to keep this consistent, we will be aligning our survey releases. So we're targeting April. I think middle, late April. We will just pay attention in April for the announcement of the survey. It's not defined yet, but we're planning middle to late April. And then having data collection for about 2 months. So finishing up into June, with then going into the summer gives us plenty of time to work with the data, to clean it. And Vicky, I don't know how long it took you, but it definitely took me a long time to clean and prepare that data. I underestimated last year.
Yeah, how this year will be better for the comparison if we have the same range and the same question, it will be easier. I hope so.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's my hope, is that it will be a little bit more streamlined than it was for me last year. But then in September we'll be finalizing the reports, and importantly, we'll be looking for sponsors to contribute not just support but also thought leadership articles to these reports. And in that September month, we'll also be collecting and receiving those, and then finalizing the report. And again, two reports, because InReceiva XR will have their report, and then which will be published in October, and then XR for Europe will follow with the publication of the European scale report in November, and in both cases leading to in December a public event to engage with the stakeholders and policymakers about these two important, insightful reports. We'll be doing this at the United XR event in Brussels, which, for those who are maybe missed the announcement, this is a collaboration. This is a joint event being organized by Stereopsia and AWE Europe. So this is going to be the biggest event of the year, probably, in Europe for our XR and virtual world industry. And so we're going to have a public event to present and engage with the data, and those supporting sponsors of the report will be able to participate and join us in that public event as well. So I'll just leave it at that. So if you're interested in supporting this research, either at the Spanish level or at the European level, again, we're coordinating and supporting each other. So please reach out either to Vicky or to myself to learn how you can support, how you can become a sponsor, a contributor, or even a research partner. And I'd like to maybe then now open it up to any comments or questions from our audience, and go from that. So let's see. We do actually have a comment. So let me read it out loud. This is from Brian. He's a VR founder living in Spain and would love to learn more about getting involved with InReceiva. So he's operating a UK VR game development company, but he moved to Spain. So Vicky, I don't know if you want to provide some insight there.
Well, I think you can connect with us through mail, and we can, I think, talk about more about your company, and so you can talk about your projects and see how can I help you. So I guess you can be one of the next companies who get the survey. So I hope so.
Yeah, and I just to simplify our visuals a bit. That's also important for us. The UK was another market that, at least us at the European level, we didn't have the type of representation we know we need to have this year. So we'll be very keen to have greater reach and survey penetration into the UK market. So Brian, also look for both. I hope you reach out to InReceiva XR, but also keep an eye on the European survey when it comes out. I don't see any other comments at the moment, but maybe Vicky, is there, I don't know, anything that I mentioned a couple of things that we wanted to add to our topics that I wanted to add to this year's European level research. Some you're already doing, but are there any topics that maybe not for this year, but that you would be interested at some point to try to address in your study that you haven't yet been able to?
Well, I think one data that struck us from the two first reports we did, we're like studying like the employees, like, and the gender of on the professional, and there is a big gap between men and women who are working on XR, and we want to keep searching on this, so we expect it get better and better so through the years. And I think it will be great to have this data also in Europe, to see if it's only on Spain or in Europe it's like similar. So because in this industry, and being a technology industry, it's more common that this happen when we want it to become it better thing.
Mm-hmm. That is something that I hope we'll be successful in looking at the European level. I think we'll be looking to your questions to try to establish what is a successful way to ask, what's the answer ranges and stuff that are appropriate. Because in some cases, I know we had some, not for this topic, but we got some feedback that, culturally there are just different orientations to surveys and how people fill out surveys. the length of it, but also the transparency, because we asked about financial information, which we kept obviously very confidential. We take data privacy very seriously and maintain some pretty strong protections there. But we know, again, it's just a cultural thing, to some extent, and with regard to transparency on finances. And I think as well that that's a topic that likely will have to be following your successful example in how we roll that out, and then adapting. On that topic, just of gender representation and the roles, I would say that just observationally, and this is something I'd like to explore, I see women predominantly as founders, and then in communication and marketing roles. And I don't know if that is something that you've seen change, because I do think, I do meet women who are in the developer roles, but they still seem to be the minority, more distinctly than among founders, where there seems to be quite a few. But what were your insights, and what would you be expecting to see in this next year?
Yeah, I think in Spain it's really common. Like it have more feminine roles in the marketing side, but it's getting more representation in development. But in funding, it's also very rare to find like founding members who are female. But I hope so. It will increase, but yeah, it's rare. But I think we expect more from this year. We hope so.
All right, we have a couple more questions here. Let's see, from Matthew. He says, do we intend to integrate or align also with the Portugal XR report? So Matthew, we did actually. The Portugal XR report provided the largest source of respondents to last year's report. So I would anticipate, in speaking with Luis Provo Martin, who was the partner who facilitated that integration last year, I'm anticipating working with him and with the other authors of that report again this year. But it depends on the time frame and timeline. So it's conversations. We've already had a meeting. Vicky, you were there. There were a lot of different potential organizations and researchers when we had the meeting in, I think, was it January, late January. So Matthew, to answer your question, the intent is there, the plan is there, but you just have to make it happen and align with them. And then one last comment at the moment from Federico. So which other national initiatives? I think that's a related question, to better represent Europe. So yeah, Vicky, I'm not sure, because you have your own network as well, sometimes, that are because you are in other groups. So you might have some different questions or different answers here, but I am particularly looking for XR Hub Bavaria, one of our members in XR for Europe, who indicated that they were interested in supporting the research somehow, probably through dissemination. I think as well XRBB in Berlin-Brandenburg. And I'm really hoping XR Polska. I mentioned them before. They are quite new, but we're very keen at XR for Europe to support any of these new emerging representative bodies, because it's really important that that a national ecosystem has a recognizable representation, so that at the very least they provide some discoverability. And so, yeah, Vicky, I don't know if you have anything to further add on that, but I think, again, Immersiva XR is that gold standard in many ways, as a grassroots representative body who provides that further discoverability.
I think like the ideal situation, it will be like each association of each country like do their own survey and then share the data with Europe, so we can like join the data from from whole Europe. So we don't have to, like, our companies have to do like two survey, like European and the Spanish one. So I think it's in collaborating in all the association in Europe. It will be great for don't miss any data, because they have to do a lot of surveys, and I think it's complicated for the companies who are like working every day, like stop to make a survey. So we have to like do a lot of pressure to have the data. But I think in the end, all of them think it's very useful and use it for for sharing the data with their clients. And I think we're having good recognition in Europe, but also on a national level. It's very useful, not only for the companies, but also for public entities who use the data to unlock, like, to give visibility for XR and knowing, like, specific data of how the industry is in Spain.
Yeah. So I think that's all the comments at the moment, and that are the comments that are questions, at least. So with that, if there's nothing else, then I think this is a good time to finish up. But again, also say, please, if you're interested in learning more about the research or about either association, or I have to correct myself, in Receive XR as a cluster, then reach out to either Vicky or myself, and we look forward to talking with you more about this research and our other activities in Spain and in the rest of Europe. So Vicky, thank you very much for joining me today, and look forward to working with you more as we get started and launching this new research in April, in just a very short time, just a month, basically a month. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.